You want to have a department in your business or someone thinking about HR in your business because laws change all the time. And no one from the government is going to knock on your door, schedule a Zoom call, and tell you, hey, this thing changed, right? So you need to have somebody who's paying attention to all of that. If you are the owner of a business and you have more than one employee, you need to start thinking about who else can be HR, because from a business relationship standpoint, it's hard to be the boss and HR at the same time because your employees are going to be too afraid to go to the boss and say, hey, there's an issue. I don't feel comfortable working here.
You're listening to the Black to Business Podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Winnie T. Marshall. Welcome back. So being an employer comes with great responsibility. You're responsible for creating a positive work environment for your employees, but this isn't always easy to do. The truth is that people are different. They're different in their opinions, they're different in their backgrounds, and they're different in their personalities. So with this, they have different needs. This is why it's so important to have a human resources, HR department, or a system to manage these needs. Having an HR department helps you create a healthy work culture and implement policies that ensure fair treatment and opportunities for career development. When employees are motivated and satisfied, they are more likely to bring their A game, which ultimately improves business performance. Our guest today, Joey Price, is going to give us the beginner's guide to human resources for small businesses. A little bit about Joey is he's an award-winning human resources executive, a thought leader, and the president and CEO of Jumpstart HR. I'm so excited to share this conversation with you because during our conversation, you're going to learn why small businesses need an HR department, no matter how big or small, whether you are a small and mighty team or a one-person team. And we're also going to talk about some of the risks of not having an HR department, and also the differences between either you can hire HR specialists or outsource it. And he's also going to share some of the steps for setting up an actual HR department and how to identify the right person for the job. This is a workshop within itself, so I'm excited to dive in. So let's get to it. Joey, welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. So grateful to have you here. So welcome to the show.
I am glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. So before we dive into today's topic, if you could just share a little bit about you with my audience. What is it that you do in your business? How did you get where you are today? Please share.
Oh my goodness. And you want me to do all that in less than 4 hours, right?
Yes.
No. In all seriousness, I'm Joey Price. I am the founder of a company called Jumpstart HR, where we provide HR services to small businesses and startups all across the U.S. We even will work with multinational firms that start a U.S. presence and don't know U.S. law. And I also have a podcast called While We Were Working, and that is a weekly show where we provide HR guidance to managers of people in small business. And then when I'm not doing that during the day, I'm a husband and then a father to 2 little girls under 4. So I'm pretty busy around these streets.
Yes, I love it. I love that. And I love the work that you're doing, which is why I wanted you on the show today to talk about a beginner's guide to human resources, HR, for small businesses, exactly what you do. So we over here at Black to Business, we like to start with the basics. So first, let's start by understanding what human resources is. So what is HR?
Oh, I love this question. So human resources, if I had to describe it, define it, put some context on it, I'd say it's the function or duties or department in a business that helps an organization manage, guide, compensate and train the individuals who work in that organization.
Got it. So why do small businesses need HR?
Small businesses need HR even if they want to stay small. I think the misunderstanding that people have sometimes is that, oh, I can overlook human resources. It's not important. I'm the founder. I can do, I can trust my gut and Google to get the answers, but that's not really true. I think about the stat that shows, just how many businesses fail to make it in the first 5 years of business. And unfortunately, in our communities, those numbers are even higher. I even think about the fact that most Black-owned businesses will have 2 employees or less. Those numbers and statistics, they don't say wealth building. They don't say growth, legacy, longevity. And most of us create businesses because we want to change the trajectory of our family. We want to change the trajectory of other families that we know. We want to build something great. You can't do that without people. You can't do that without great people systems. And you can't do that without painting a picture of what it means to thrive and grow in your organization. So at the very 30,000 foot level, you need HR because you need to be able to attract people who will help your business be successful. And then on the ground level, you need HR because you don't want to go out of business and you don't want to get fines or fees or anything that happens because you've neglected HR.
So well said. And now we know the importance of having HR in small businesses. I want to talk about when the time is right to create this department or this specialist, add this specialist to your team. So one, I want you to answer. So is that saying every business should have HR? And then 2, how do they decide when the time is right?
Every business needs to be thinking about HR when it's just the founder and a dream or the partners in a dream, because you have to think about, yes, you need to think about what is your product or service and how are you going to sell it. But you also need to be thinking about, hey, if and when we are successful in our service or product, what would it look like to attract other people to help us build and grow our business? So at the founder level, you need to be thinking about what type of employer do I want to be? What type of positions do I need? Not to get too technical and tactical, because I could do this all day. But as a founder, you need to be taking personality assessments and figuring out where are your business weaknesses and what sort of skill or acumen do you need to hire for to cover your gaps. And you need to think about how you're going to fill those gaps, whether it's through outsourcing, whether it's a part-time hire, whether it's an intern, whether it's a full-time hire. There's so much of the strategy around creating effective HR, even from day one, when you go to the office and register your LLC and open up your business bank account. You need to be thinking about not just you, but the next person you're going to bring on your team.
I love that, to get technical and tactical, because we want to make sure that people are thinking about these things in the beginning, because it's so costly down the road, whether it's time or resources, money, to figure this out. So love that you mentioned that. And kind of going on that point, I want to talk about the risks and issues of companies that don't have a formal HR department. Can you talk about some of those things?
Oh my goodness, the risk. If it weren't for the risk, we would not be in business.
Right.
So there's such a you could write a book on the risk that small businesses face for human resources and getting it wrong or neglecting it. If I were to think about risk in payroll, It's not classifying your worker the correct way. So, simply stated, if you have a consultant and you're treating them like an employee, or you have an employee and you're treating them like a consultant. Also, if you are not paying people correctly, so whether that's wage and hour law, so not paying minimum wage, or if you are not paying someone overtime and they should be getting paid overtime, that's a risk. Another risk in the hiring side, right? Because we want to see this grow. You want to add people. You could ask questions that actually get you in trouble. You could ask, hey, are you married? Or what did you make in your last job? Or have you ever been in jail? These are typically questions you can't ask in many states. Another risk from a training standpoint is not thinking through the job descriptions and the duties that you want someone to have. And if someone isn't able to meet those expectations, how can you help upskill them to meet those expectations? Or if you need to have the conversation to let them go so that they can find opportunity to be employed where they're in their strength, so that you can find someone who's better suited. I could go on and on, but no matter where you look in the umbrella of human resources, there are risks all around. And as much as there's risk, there's great opportunity to get it right and grow because of it and be successful because of it.
Love that. Speaking of opportunities to get it right, we always want to avoid as much as we can those risks. Let's talk about staying compliant. So what is HR compliance?
HR compliance is running your organization in a way that will not result in government fines or fees and legal trouble by way of a lawsuit from a colleague, customer, vendor, you name it. So to be legally compliant, to run your HR compliant, is to follow the law. First of all, you have to know the law to follow it. But to follow the law and do what you need to do so that you stay on the right side of the law. I can give you a story. I call it the $25,000 handbook. And the reason why I call it the $25,000 handbook is because it's from way back early days when I started my business. And a company had hired us. Back then it was just me, but they hired me to help them with a termination that they wanted to do for an employee. And you let the owner of this business tell it. This person was doing everything that would be considered gross misconduct. And gross misconduct is a special word. I use it for a special reason. But the first question I asked was, okay, well, where's your employee handbook? And this customer did not have a handbook at all. So the individual actually was awarded their unemployment because the person who had to make the decision in the case of whether this person gets unemployment or not for gross misconduct, they didn't see anywhere where the employer told them that the actions that they did counted as gross misconduct. So because there was no handbook in place, because there was no compliance in place, they were responsible for, there's unemployment insurance, obviously, but the worker was able to get wages to the equivalent of $25,000 because they didn't have that policy in place. So that's why I call it the $25,000 handbook. But, we could talk about the $7 million overtime or whatever the case may be of companies that got it wrong and it had to pay.
Wow. What are some of the things people need to have in their employee handbook?
Well, you've got to have a few things that you need to include. I'll start with like the compliance piece, and then the things that are really good to have.
Mm-hmm.
Compliance standpoint, people need to know what paid time off looks like in your company. In many states, you have a set minimum number of days or hours that you can give a person time off. So you need to make sure that that's communicated. Uh, if you are in a state that requires sexual harassment training, you should include that and how often you are subject to that training. Stuff like jury duty. In some places, you actually have to give paid time off. In some
Mm-hmm.
places, you don't. So just understanding jury duty. What's another fun one? In the city of Seattle, Washington, they have a special insurance fund that goes to paying out a specific kind of insurance to workers. So if you have to abide by that, you should communicate any special funds that may be withdrawn from an employee's paycheck. People need to know where their money's going.
Mm-hmm.
So it's things like that you need to include in your handbook, and then some stuff that's nice to have. Maybe a letter from you as the owner, saying, "Hey, we're so grateful that you're working here. Here's our mission, vision, value, and culture." You might want to include, obviously, definitely include a place for employees to sign and say, "Hey, I've taken a look at this handbook. I know that I'm accountable to this." And then you also might want to think about, and I haven't even talked about this piece, but if you have folks that are working remote, and what does it mean to be in the office versus out of office? What is your cell phone policy? Do you expect people to check their Slack on Saturday night? Do you expect people to respond to clients on Friday evening? What happens if they're on travel? So all these sorts of things would go into a handbook because they're all the questions an employee is going to want to know. And you don't want to have to stop your day, sit down with the
Right.
employee, talk to them about a policy. It just makes it so much easier to run your business if you put all this stuff in one place.
Wow. So good. Thank you so much. It's already on fire, Joey. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, so clearly you've expressed to us some of the benefits of creating, well, a lot of benefits of creating a separate HR department and just focusing on this. I always like to bring it home. So if you had to say a list of the benefits of creating a separate HR team, what would you say?
So if you want to have if you want to outsource, or if you want to have a department in your business.
A department in your business, because we're
Okay.
also going
All
to
right.
talk about outsourcing as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So you want to have a department in your business, or someone thinking about HR in your business, because laws change all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And no one from the government is going to knock on your door, schedule a Zoom call, and tell you, "Hey, this thing changed," right? So you need to have somebody who's paying attention to all of that. Uh, if you are the owner of a business and you have more than one employee, you need to start thinking about who else can be HR, because from a business relationship standpoint, it's hard to be the boss and HR at the same time, because your employees are going to be too afraid to go to the boss and say, "Hey, there's an issue. I don't feel comfortable working here." So you need to figure out how you're going to split those duties up away from you. And then another reason why you want to have HR in your organization, um, if you're not working with someone who does outsourcing, is because workplace culture matters so much these days, and there needs to be someone who's focused on making sure you have the best culture that you can have in your business. So you've got to have either someone or a department focused on those aspects, focused on, if if payroll wasn't run right, who communicates that to people, and how do you settle that for people that might have bills due on the same day that payroll was supposed to be run. If you have if you've had high turnover and you're trying to figure out why, maybe someone who's skilled in HR and recruiting will help you unpack why all of that's happening. So these are things I could go on, but I don't want to scare your listeners. I want to just encourage them that running an important and thriving, successful business is as much about your people as it is the product you sell, the customers that you get to know, the finance, the legal. HR is incredibly, incredibly important.
Now that we've understood the importance, I want to talk about identifying the right person for the job, because sometimes people can think, or a lot of times business owners their initial thought is to hire somebody who's a subordinate based on their role rather than their abilities. So I want to talk about, how do we identify the right person for the job?
I will tell you the wrong person for the job because that's easier. The wrong person for the job is anyone who has no experience doing HR. That's the wrong person. And I don't care if you pick them because they're organized. I don't care if you pick them because they want to know HR. I don't care if you pick them because they're family. I'll ask you this. If you go to a 5-star restaurant, do you want a chef back there who has never made food in a 5-star restaurant before?
Not at all.
Or if your house is on fire, do you want a firefighter who has never fought a fire before? Why then would you want someone handling HR, which can get you in so much trouble, but also give you so much opportunity to grow? Why would you want someone handling that part of your business that has no experience? I wouldn't take my car to a shop where nobody's done it before, but this person is clean, or this person's my brother, or this person, watched a couple YouTube videos. Like, no, I want to go to an expert. I want to go to somebody that I can trust. And you deserve that as a business owner, and your employees deserve that as well as members of your team. So even if it's not somebody that's working in your business as an employee, you got to have an advisor, outsource partner, some source you can just pick up the phone and call and ask questions, because you do need that expertise. It's not just someone who can check a box, but it's someone who can move your business forward.
Well said. And now one of the things you mentioned before is like the outsourcing of HR. So I want to talk about hiring an HR specialist specifically for your business versus outsourcing to a third-party organization.
Yeah, because just like I said, you wouldn't want to go to a 5-star restaurant and have a 1-star chef or 0-star chef. If you truly believe in your business, and you know that you want to go where you see your business going, the best thing you can do is surround yourself with advisors, influencers, and executors who know what they're doing, who have seen your business challenges before, and who can help you learn from other people's trial and error so that you don't have to do it on your own. If you think about, for example, I'm learning golf. I've been playing for about 10 years, but I'm finally actually trying to learn to be good at it. Right? I go to outsource. I outsource my skill development. I don't go at it on my own. I go to a coach who can look at my swing and say, fix this, fix that, do this drill, do that drill. Come see me in a week. And I get further faster by going to this expert than I would have if I had just watched a couple YouTube videos, or these days TikTok videos or Instagram videos to golf. Like, you want someone who's seen it, done it, can help you go through it.
Now let's talk about some of the steps for, setting up an HR team or someone to handle it. Of course, we have business owners who range from a one-person show to those who have a small and mighty team. So I want to talk about the preparation for it when that time comes, some of the things to have in place, whether it's training, whether it's what the owner should be working on beforehand. What would you say?
Yeah, one of the myths that people think is, oh, my business is so jacked up. I need to fix the part that's jacked up before I get an HR outsourcing partner because they're not going to want to work with us.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot scare a HR partner away because it's likely we are in this because we have seen it all and we have worked with firms that may have been more jacked up than you. I always joke that a person will tell you in a sales call or through the onboarding process, like, oh, yeah, we're the best company ever. Life is great. You'll be thrilled to work with us. But then when you realize that, like, they have skeletons in their closet, they have bodies buried in the backyard. I know these are gruesome analogies, but let's just say they have stuff to hide, right? We've seen it. We've seen it all. And you want an outsourcing partner that can help you overcome even the parts that you think are too scary to give to someone. So to prepare for that, you'll probably want to ask questions like, hey, tell me a time you helped the business do this. Or do you have experience with this kind of worker or in this kind of industry? And you want to listen to them and see what they say so that you're able to get a feel for if they're the right fit. Because not all companies are going to be the right fit, but the way you ask your questions and prepare your questions will help you decide if you're making the right decision by working with them.
Got it. And let's talk about the investment, because people are thinking, okay, this is something I need, whether it be they're creating these own departments within their organizations or they choose to outsource to a third party. Let's talk about some of the expectations on the investment that goes into it, whether it's money, whether it's training. What would you say for people to be prepared to, pay, invest when it comes to time and resources?
Yeah. Before I get into the numbers, I'll just preface it by saying, there's no success without sacrifice, and there's no increase without investment. And so if you're trying to or looking at this conversation and wondering like, well, where can I cut corners? Where can I skim? Where can I cheat the system? That's the wrong way to look at it. The right way to look at it is, if I invest, I expect to see increase. And so the average HR manager salary these days is anywhere from $80,000 to $90,000 a year. And that's if they're a full-time professional. Now, that's hiring a full-time person working 40 hours a week. But many small businesses don't have 40 hours of HR work that they need at any given moment. So you can work with outsource partners who are able to meet your need. And those groups can vary. On our website, our pricing is transparent, but you can find the right person for the right level of investment that you need to make. But again, ask yourself, well, what are the things I need this person to do? And then you need to look at it to say there's no success without sacrifice, and no increase without investment, and be committed to the investment, knowing that you'll get the increase.
Love that. And one of the things, Joe, you spoke about in the beginning is just defining some of the responsibilities of an HR specialist or team. I want to talk about, for those, like you mentioned, they may not need a 40-hour person, but just a couple of hours a week or project based. What are if someone is starting small, like what are some of the first things that they should think about when it comes to, I'm going to outsource this to an HR specialist?
Right. So the first thing that you want to outsource so that you never have to think about it again is your employee handbook. Learning how to do an employee handbook the right way is a full-time job. But your full-time job is running a business. So in the same way that you wouldn't, maybe you would, but similarly to working with a marketing professional to get a marketing plan, or similar to working with, a CPA or an accountant to get your financial plan, you want to work with somebody who will get your handbook taken care of. You also might want an expert for getting your payroll set up. So that's everything from actually selecting the system that you're going to use for payroll, but also registering as an employer in each of the states that you have employees. I would also outsource your, I call them startup documents. So a job offer, I mentioned a handbook, a new hire checklist, a termination checklist. These are the things that you don't want to spend your time having to search the web of what all goes in. What all do I give to a new hire when they start? Or what all should I put in a handbook? Like, work with someone who will know those answers and be able to ask you the right questions so that you get the right stuff that you need.
Perfect. And any recommendations on the best HR software tools for small business owners?
Yeah, I will give a big it depends, only because it's important to figure out what your goals are. But I'll say we are a Gusto partner. So we do help companies that use Gusto. And but we're able, and that's a payroll system. That's a place to store employee documents. That's a place for you to do all of your onboarding digitally. But there's also some other great tools out there. Even some of the competitors of Gusto are great tools. So I say it depends on what you're looking to accomplish. It depends on your budget. But those are things that you really want to think about.
Got it. And now let's talk about, because this has been so helpful and so insightful. So I want to talk about the problems that you are solving over at Jumpstart HR. So how are you all helping business owners with their HR needs? So talk about the offerings, your process, and what's it like for someone to work with you all.
We're helping businesses and business owners. Typically, they have an HR challenge that they don't want to face alone. And so they're looking for experts to invite into that challenge to help bring clarity, solutions, and overcome whatever challenge that may be. We're usually working with groups as small as 5. Maybe that's a handbook and setting up payroll and helping to run payroll, all the way to 10 to 15 that might include recruitment or employee relations, which is basically you hire a lot of people. Getting along is part of the hardest part. So helping people get along. And then larger groups, we've worked with groups as large as 3,000. But
wow,
if you have HR issues that you don't want to face alone, invite us into the conversation and let's talk and see if we're a good fit.
Awesome. And any of the transformation stories from your clients that stick out?
Oh, goodness. All of them are special. So one client of ours, it's a federal contractor based in Maryland. And the person who started the business started it while working for someone else. And I always love these founder stories where someone goes and takes a leap and they're rewarded with winning contracts, growing their business, so on and so forth. So for this individual, we started when he was the only person. So, founder in a dream. And we've helped him grow over the last year to have 4 employees on his team. And these aren't like, 4 low paid jobs. These are 4 skilled experts in technology. It's a Black-owned business, so I'm extremely proud about that. So helping them grow from 1 to 4 was really, really great. We have companies who we saw them when they were at 70 and now they're at 300, and they acquired a business, and so we helped them merge 2 cultures. The big organizations and the small organizations are both special.
I love that. So beautiful. Love to hear stories like that, like those transformation stories. So awesome, the work that you're doing. And let's talk about how, as the president, you stay organized. What are some of the tools that you use as a leader to stay organized?
The biggest way that I stay organized these days is my executive assistant. She's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
She helps us stay organized, focused. She helps block my time. So I'm really fortunate to have a team member who helps me. But tools that we use, and I can give you links to these, but
Mm-hmm.
we use Monday.com for our projects and for tracking goals. We use Slack for team communication. We're on the Google Suite for email and docs. I use Canva if I want to like sketch out an idea and then hand it over to a designer who can really do it. Right. I just
Mm-hmm.
kind of, it's easier for me to show you than tell you. So sometimes
Right.
I have to say, I'm trying to do this, but like just make it better. Um, and then, I mean, let me open my phone real quick and see if I would say anything in addition to that. No, those are the tools. Those are the tools because each of them all have a mobile app. So that's where I spend most of my time.
Love it. And we'll be sure to put those in the show notes. And Joey, what advice would you give to someone who's in their first year of business?
Don't give up and try to get as many people around you who are smarter at solving the problems you have than you are. Because most businesses fail, I believe, because the founder has gotten in his or her own way
Mm-hmm.
in one way or another. So hang in there, be coachable, get around smart people, and watch your business take off.
Yes. And what is the best risk that you've taken?
The best risk that I took was starting my business.
That's a good one.
Actually, I'll say the best risk I took was getting married to my wife. But that's a
Oh,
whole nother podcast for another time.
I love it. I love it. And finally, what does it mean to you to be Black in business?
What does it mean to be Black and to be in business? It means picking up the baton from ancestors who have literally bled, sweat, and died so that I could have the freedom and influence that I have. So I take it very seriously that I carry the banner of being a Black business owner in America. And so for me, that means sharing as much wisdom and opportunities as I can for others to come even behind me and pick up the baton. And so it's a constant state of gratitude for those who have gone before us, and excitement for who's going to come behind me.
Love it. Beautifully said. And people are going to want to know how can they connect with you? How can they support you? So please do share social medias, contacts, website, all of that good stuff.
If you want to find me anywhere online, your best bet is Joey V Price HR. That's my social handle on anything out there. And then on LinkedIn, you can just search for my name, Joey Price. And if you want to learn more about my business, it's jumpstart-hr.com. And if you want to learn more about my podcast, it's called While We Were Working.
Awesome. And we will definitely put those in the show notes as well. Joey, thank you so, so much again for the work that you're doing, for setting the tone for how business is done, and just for being on the Black to Business podcast. So thank you again.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. And I truly appreciate it.
Another great conversation. And as Joey mentioned, as small business owners, we often overlook HR. But no matter how small your team is, even if it's just you, you need to be thinking about HR. You might not need a person working 40 hours a week, but you can hire someone part-time or outsource. And I'm so glad that Joey shared that if you had to start small, starting with your employee handbook is where you should start. So that's a good one. Thank you so much for listening, and you can check out and learn more about Joey and how to connect with him and some of the resources that he mentioned by visiting blacktobusiness.com/134. Chat with you next week, same time, same place.